The logical framework explained. Good day, folks. Welcome to M&D Made Simple. I'm your host, Coach Alexander. So glad to have you here, and if you are new to this channel, just hit the subscribe button so that you have access to all my latest posts. A little bit about myself. I've been practicing monitoring and evaluation for 10 years now, and I love every bit of it. It's been a rewarding experience so far because this skill has contributed positively to the projects I've engaged in. It's never been easy, but I have always told myself that life is never easy anyway. So, back to our topic. What is the logical framework? I know you're wondering, why do I even have a USAID logo in front of me? Well, believe it or not, this is where it all began. Developed in the late 1960s to assist the U.S. Agency of International Development, that's USAID, to improve in its project planning and evaluation system. Guys, in case you didn't know this, USAID goes way back, and I mean way, way back, because they've been around since the 60s. Now, a bit about the USAID history. I know we may be diverting a bit, but I feel this is important for all of us to all understand how international aid even came into existence. Well, during the World War II, okay, that was back in 1945, a lot of infrastructure got destroyed and a lot of nations were crippling. The then Secretary of State in the US, George C. Marshall, provided significant financial and technical assistance to Europe. This aid served two purposes. It served firstly to create markets for the United States by reducing poverty and increasing production in developing countries, but also it helped in diminishing the threat of communism by helping countries prosper under capitalism. And so it was in the late 1960s that the USAID was born. And then it was in the 1970s the USAID began to shift its focus away from technical and capital assistance programs. So now what I'm saying here, instead of the USA focusing on technical programs, it shifted focus to basic human needs approach, which today we know human-based approach. Okay, so what was the focus on? It was on food and nutrition, population planning, health, education, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that was just a bit of a history which I wanted you to know. Okay, so USAID goes way back. They were the first to use the Logframe. They used it for quite a number of their interventions. So how did the logical framework actually come in? Okay, how did it come in? Well, the logical framework was originally developed and applied in science and the private sector for the planning and management of complex projects. Okay, so the logical framework approach was first formally adopted as a planning tool. Okay, that's something you need to understand. It was first adopted as a planning tool for overseas development activities, especially by the USAID. And since then, it has been adopted and adapted by a large number of agencies. Okay, I'm sure you know about DFID, you know about Canada's CEDA, and also the Australian aid. Okay, they also use this. So now, the logical framework approach was designed. Okay, this is something you need to understand and underline. It was designed to address three basic concerns. Okay, first of all, planning was too vague. As you can see, I've written the points down below. So planning was too vague, without clearly defined objectives that could be used to monitor and evaluate success or failure of a project. Okay, so I think this is why I always say this. If you've watched some of my videos, I always mention that the log frame is the heart of M&E. It is like the Bible of monitoring and evaluation, and it all comes down to this first point. You know, it gives you when you develop a log frame, it gives you clearly defined objectives, which make it easier to track whether there's any progress being achieved. Okay, so we'll get back to that later, maybe in this presentation or a different video I'll create. So now, another thing it it was designed to address is that you find in point 2, which says management responsibilities were unclear. Okay, then the third thing was evaluation was often an adversarial process because there was no common agreement as to what the project was really trying to achieve. So if you see these 3 reasons, I guess now you can understand why a log frame is really the heart of M&D, because it's the truth and no one can hide away the truth. You see, folks, the log frame is a management tool, a program planning tool, a technical assistance tool. It is a lot of things, actually. If you come to think of it, the log frame is 60 years old, and it definitely has been used for a lot of projects and programs. A lot of experiences have definitely been derived from the use of the log frame. So what more can we say? It's a tool that has stood the test of time. Think of it, if it wasn't an effective tool, okay? Do you think organizations and people would still be using it? No. There is, of course, the all-million-dollar question. Is this a tool that has fulfilled its intended purpose? If you ask me, I think it has. I personally have had a good experience with it. Can't complain, but it could be better. I just think the problem really comes in when at planning stage people don't really develop the log frame in the way it should be. Well, that's just me, okay? Anyway, that's a topic for another day. There was a book I was reading, okay? And I'm sure you also gain the maximum benefit of reading it. It was developed by the Republic of Serbia. It's a guide to the logical framework approach. It's a 41-page document. I have left a link to this book in the description. Okay, so there is the image. This book, I would like you to read it. It gives you a guide to the logical framework approach, but there are many other, the internet, interestingly, is flooded with material on monitoring and evaluation, material you can get for free. Okay, so now back to our topic at hand. What is the logical framework, aka log frame? Okay, that is the log frame. It's simple, really. It tells you the goals, purpose, outputs, activities. You see, the log frame provides a well-structured approach of implementing projects. There are a lot of different projects being implemented around the world. You've got construction projects, you've got humanitarian projects, so many different projects being implemented around the world. So much money being pumped in. The question we should be asking ourselves at the end of the day is, what does this all translate to? If you look at the log frame right at the bottom of the log frame there, okay, there, you have the activities. Activities are simply the actions you undertake to fulfill a certain purpose. Okay, so the activities there fulfilling this purpose and ultimately the goal. I always like to give the example of the dam. Okay? The question we are trying to answer is, what do the activities we do in life translate to? In the dam that you see in front of you, think of the many activities that are implemented to construct the dam. You definitely need engineers to design the dam, and you need a construction team to do the dirty work. All the actions that lead to building the dam are known as activities. The output is the immediate product that is achieved as a result of the activities implemented. In this case, what is the immediate product when you undertake the activities? It is the dam. When we say purpose, what is the outcome achieved because the dam was constructed? Well, dams, okay, I know maybe you don't know a dam and its purpose, but I'll tell you that there are different kinds of dams that fulfill different purposes. But I am familiar with dams being used for power generation. When a dam is constructed, it leads to what? Electricity generation. So the purpose of constructing a dam, okay, you see the purpose there? Okay, do you see this purpose? The purpose of constructing this dam in this case was to generate electricity, okay, which is the outcome, what you get from the activities you implemented. So now what happens when we have electricity? What is the impact? Or in other words, what is the goal? Okay, so the impact, the goal, is what comes out as a result of the electricity being generated. When we have the electricity, okay, the economy of a country will grow. Because with energy generation, industries will be more productive, exports will rise, employment will rise, leading to what? More money in people's pockets. As you can see, when we have the Logframe in place, it is easier to plan project implementation. The logical framework approach is not something that can be achieved in a day. Okay, this is something you need to realize. It cannot also be designed by one person. No. Usually, stakeholder involvement is essential, and this is something that we tend to ignore sometimes. We tend to ignore this. We think that we are the masters, we are the kings, we can develop anything we want, especially that if we are in management positions. But the truth of the matter is that you need to involve stakeholders. You need to, if possible, you need to involve government, you need to involve private sector, you need to involve the beneficiaries and also those who are even implementing the project to design this log frame. So it's a planning tool, and like every planning done, it is essential that the right minds are put together in order to agree on what the project should essentially achieve. So, I hope you've enjoyed this short presentation. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. And remember to download the free guide to logical framework approaches. I'll be doing more videos on logical framework approaches in future. What will help me is if you have any suggestions on video topics you would like me to do, just suggest to me in the comment section below and I'll consider it in future. Until we meet again, see you on the other side.